high and the mighty will fall. There will be no power brokers, the wall of power will fall.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. I could not be more excited to talk to our guest tonight. I've been a fan of his since Richard Nixon was in office. In fact, when I was a young, budding folk singer on the Iron Range in a little group called Paul and Christian, we performed one of Tom Paxton's songs called The Last Thing on My Mind. He is he's one of the seminal figures in the New York City Greenwich Village folk scene. He's performing in concert with the Don Juans Wednesday night at the West Cedar in Duluth, Minnesota, on September 26th, the night after at the Cedar Cultural Center. He's an American singer-songwriter. His career spans more than 6 decades. In 2009, Tom Paxton received a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. He's also a music educator as well as an advocate for folk singers to combine traditional songs with new composition. You want to talk about some of his songwriting credits? Let's talk about who's recorded Tom Paxton songs, and this is just a short list. Judy Collins, The Weavers, Bob Dylan, Pete Seeger, Sandy Denny, Joan Baez, Doc Watson, Harry Belafonte, Peter, Paul, and Mary, Porter Wagner, Marianne Faithfull, the Kingston Trio, the Chad Mitchell Trio, John Denver, and none other than Dolly Parton. If I wanted to tell you more about Tom Paxton, it would take up the whole show, but I'd rather talk to him in person. Mr. Paxton, how are you this evening?
Call me Tom. And
Thank you.
You forgot to mention Tiny Tim.
Oh, there you go. Who actually passed away in Minneapolis.
Did he really?
Yeah,
he was a sweet man. I knew him.
He passed away on stage.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, what a way to go out, though, right?
I guess, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Tiny Tim.
Well, he was a sweet man. He was as he seemed to be. He was, as somebody once described, he said that he was out where the buses don't run. But he was a very, very nice guy who had a real reverence for the old songs that he liked to sing, like Tiptoe. That's about all I can tell you. I didn't know him well. I just know that everybody who knew him liked him a lot.
I know Bob Dylan spoke highly of Tiny Tim.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, you know Wavy Gravy?
Oh, yeah, Hugh Romney.
Yeah, well, he was my roommate back in the Village. And
really?
And there was a show that he and Tiny Tim did with Moondog. The three of them did a show.
Wow.
People came out of the show with their eyes going in circles.
Wow.
It was a mind blower. I wish I had seen it. But Wavy Gravy said it was a trip on a trip.
And Moondog was that incredible. He was like a composer, and he appeared in the street dressed kind of like a Viking.
A Viking, yeah, with a spear and a helmet and a robe. You'd see him on 6th Avenue, up in the 50s on the 6th Avenue.
Oh,
it was wild.
You know, speaking of another Minneapolis connection, I don't know when's the last time you spoke to Mr. Gravy, but he married a woman from Minneapolis.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah,
he had good taste.
I had a good friend who was good friends with both of them. But let's talk a little bit about, when you mentioned Tiny Tim and Moondog, I remember the first time I went to Greenwich Village in '84, and I had the honor of debuting at Folk City in 1986. But for me, as a young folk singer growing up on the Iron Range, Greenwich Village was the promised land. And I was reading a quote where the mayor of McDougal Street, none other than Dave Van Ronk, said, you were actually one of the first guys that were known for writing your own material before Bob Dylan.
Well, that's just because I got there before Bob, that's all. I mean, I got there in 1960, and he came in 61. Phil Oakes came in 62, and Eric Anderson came in 63. So we kind of hit it in waves.
It must have been just, when I played, of course, at Folk City, but then over the years, I went, when I was back in the 80s, I was able to go to the Kettle of Fish when it was still on McDougal, and which was, of course, right above the Gaslight. But talk about, I just listened to an interview when you saw Bob Dylan typing the lyrics to Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. And then the first time you heard it, if you could retell that story, because that's one of the greatest songs of all time.
Well, it is. I got to work. We had this room up over the Gaslight where we left our guitar cases and stuff. And we had a poker game going there all night. And there was a portable typewriter that Hugh Romney, that Wavy Gravy, left. And so I got to work, and Bob was in there just taking the paper out of the typewriter. I said, "What you doing?" And he said, "I've just been writing this. What do you think?" So he handed it to me. And I read, skimmed down a page of it, and I said, "This is really good." It's Lord Randall in 1962 or whatever the year was.
Right.
And he said, "What should I do with it?" And I said, "Well, you could send it to some Poetry Quarterly or something, and they'd pay you $25, or you could make a song out of it." He said, "Yeah, I think I'll make a song out of it." So about 2 nights later, like 1 a.m, he got up, probably with a couple of glasses of wine in him, and sang it for the first time. It was, and then about 5 years ago now, they apparently every 5 years around the world they have Dylan birthday concerts, and so I was in one of them. This come and be in this. I said sure. So I sang 3 songs. I sang "One Too Many Mornings," "Tomorrow Is a Long Time," and that one. And wow. I had like 3 music stands side by side so I could put all the lyrics. What was I going to do? Memorize the thing?
Oh, right.
But I'll tell you what, Paul, it was fun to sing that song.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and it's hard, oh man, I hand it up, I guess, but I love singing it. I think it's a great song.
Well, Tom Paxton, my guest, has played thousands of gigs. Like I said, he's playing at the West Theater in Duluth with the Don Juans September 25th, and at the Cedar Cultural Center. Both places I played, both great venues. Tom, you're going to really enjoy it if you haven't played there.
No, I played there, and I like it a lot.
And,
The Cedar feels to me as much like the 60s as any place I play.
And it's, part of the West Bank, which is really, that was the scene that started in Dayton, where, Dylan and Kerner and Glover got started, then moved to the West Bank in the early 60s. But there was a fella that played the Gaslight. He recently passed away. we had as a memorial at the Caboose Bar, which is up the street from the Cedar.
Uh-huh.
If you ever bumped into Spider John Kerner.
Oh, my God, John. I didn't know he'd pass.
Yep. Passed
Yeah.
and
No, I thought a lot of him. I thought he was great.
He tells a lot. He would tell. We got to be really good buddies over there, and he told me
Now,
always
what
stories
was
about
the other place there on the where I played a few years after that?
probably the Cafe Extemp.
The what? The Extemp. Yeah. I played there with Bob Gibson and Ann Hills. We had a little trio we called Best of Friends.
Yeah.
And we played the Extemp, and I loved that.
It was booked by a guy named Steve Alaric, not with us anymore, whose brother you probably have run into. He was a folk singer and also author and columnist for one of the Boston newspapers, Scott Alaric.
I loved Scott Alaric. I considered him a close friend. I just loved to tell stories with him. He knew all kinds of stories about movie stars from like the 30s and 40s. He knew Jack Benny stories that would have you on the floor. He was a delightful man.
Yeah, and left behind.
I still don't know what took him. What, did he have a heart attack or something?
I believe it might have been cancer, but I'm not sure. He died too young. I know that. See,
he was a beautiful man.
I've got to ask you. You spent some time. You were born in Chicago, but spent some time in Oklahoma. When did you come upon the music of Woody Guthrie?
I found Woody Guthrie music when I went to the University of Oklahoma. I lived in a town called Bristow, which was about 26 miles north of Okemo, which is where Woody was born.
Sure.
And I used to play high school football against teams from Okemo. Got my butt kicked, as a matter of fact. But I didn't know a Woody Guthrie song as Woody Guthrie, although, So Long It's Been Good to Know You had been a pop hit. So I knew that, but I didn't connect that with anybody. But when I went down to the university, I was already in love with folk music and trying to learn songs, and I get records out of the school library, and I found a couple of friends that were doing the same thing. And one day I came across this record called California to the New York Island. And in those days, you could take a LP into a booth and listen to it.
Right.
So I got into the booth with this thing and put it on, and out came this voice. And I thought to myself, holy shit, this guy can't sing at all. And it took me not long. I was used to sweet voices like Burl Ives, or the people from the Fred Waring chorus and things like that, trained voices.
Right.
And here came this rough voice. And it only took me 2 or 3 listenings before I started to say, wait a minute, there's somebody here.
Right.
There's somebody here, and he's talking to me. So right after that, I also found Pete Seeger. And then one morning, I went over to a friend's apartment, and he said, listen to this. And he put on an LP, and out came Pete Seeger's banjo, and they broke into Darlin' Corey, and it was the Weavers.
Right.
I never heard the Weavers before, and I'm telling you, by the time side 2 of that LP finished, I had a chance to thank each one of them in person over the years for ruining my life.
that damn band.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Mom,
No, I'm serious. From that morning, a subtle change took over me, and I went from someone who was a real fan of folk music and became someone who had to do it.
Right.
And they put me on the path that morning that I'm still on. And glad of it.
You know, you wouldn't remember it, but you and I sat right down the row from each other at Carnegie Hall in 2004 at the tribute to Harold Leventhal, which
Is that right?
Yeah, we sat right down I went up and introduced myself, and you couldn't have been nicer. And you've looked the same for 60 years, for God's sakes. I don't know what kind of vitamins you're on, but I've got to get some myself. But I believe that was the last performance of what was left of the Weavers.
Yep, it was.
You know what?
Harold Leventhal was a wonderful man. He even managed me for a year or so there, and I loved him. And I would go up and sit in his office and talk to him because Harold, you're the best stand-up comic in New York. He was very funny. He had this dry way, and like they said at Folk Alliance one year, they had a special thing with Hal, and a couple people asking him questions, and he talked all about the Weavers and Woody. And he told me one day he had a cigar that he was like a stand-up comic. He would get on his feet and walk around the office, and he said, "I'll tell you something about Woody that you never knew." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Woody was never a member of the Communist Party." And I said, "Get out of here. How can that be?" He said, "They wouldn't give him a card." They couldn't count on him to be any place. He had no discipline. So they never gave him a card. He wrote a column in the Daily Worker, but no card.
One of my favorite Woody Guthrie lines, Tom, is Woody said, he goes, I'm not a communist, but I've been in the red most of my life.
Yeah.
You know who else I met at that concert? I was cruising around Carnegie Hall, only the second time I'd been there, and there was a little bar off to the side. There was two guys at the bar, and I walked in, and I knew who one was, and I bet you met both of these guys over the years. It was George Wein and Art D. Lugoff.
Sure. Knew them both.
Art had the Village Gate, and
yep.
I actually have Art's cell number on the back of that ticket because he was trying to put together some historical artifacts from the New York scene, and I really love that stuff. And then the great George Wein, of course, from the Newport Jazz Festival and the New York.
That's right.
Festival. When's the first time you played the New York the Newport Folk Festival?
63.
Wow.
I was there 63, 64, and 66. I missed 65, which is where all the explosions were of the Dylan going electric and all that. I'm sorry I missed, and also Alan Lomax and come on, brain, Al Grossman having a fist fight.
Right.
And nobody had a camera with the right lens, and nobody got it.
Oh, man. Great story that you can see in mind's eye. You know, before we take a break and listen to this great song called Fare Thee Well, Cisco.
Thanks.
Cisco Houston, of course, for those that don't know, was a running buddy. Woody Guthrie's probably, the pictures I've seen, man, he looked like Clark Gable.
He did, a very handsome guy, yeah.
And a great singer. He's got a great record where Cisco sings Woody. But did you ever get a chance to meet Woody Guthrie? He would have been probably out at the Greystone Hospital.
No.
Okay.
He was at the hospital then, and when Dylan came to New York, he used to go out and visit Woody, and he asked me if I wanted to go. And I thought about it for a minute, and I said, no, I don't think he needs to have another stranger see him in this condition.
Right.
So I passed, and I think I made the right decision, although I certainly regret not meeting Woody.
But you did
I met Cisco.
Yeah, let's hear that story.
Well, Cisco, unbeknownst to me, was dying of cancer. And he made his last recording for Vanguard. They had a cot for him to lie down on between takes. And I saw him play one night at Folk City. And I, shook his hand, and it was just another of 100 hands he shook that night, but it meant a lot to me. And I had a couple of the albums that he did with Woody. He was a lovely singer, had a beautiful high voice.
And we're going to listen to a song by my guest, Tom Paxton, called Fare Thee Well, Cisco. And then we're going to come back for the whole show on the Wall of Power Radio Hour with the great Tom Paxton. I couldn't be more excited to be part of this conversation.
While walking through the railroad yard on a cold and a rainy night, I saw a string of old boxcars as it pulled out of sight. I heard the whistle blowing just as sad as anything, and it made me think of Cisco, fare thee songs he used to sing. Fare thee well, Cisco, fare thee well. Here for just a while, gone a many a mile. Fare thee well, Cisco, fare thee well. He walked down every highway in this great and mighty land. He sang the songs of what he saw, he sang for every man. He had no truck with nonsense, he sang 'em straight and plain. He got his greatest music from the whistle of a train. Fare thee well, Cisco, fare thee well. Here for just a while, gone a many a mile. Fare thee well, Cisco, fare thee well. Well, I dreamed that me and Cisco, we were standing in some town. The good clean air was in our lungs and the sun was a-shining down. He said this land has lots of room, it stretches far and wide. There's a lonesome freight at 6:08, let's grab that train and ride. Fare thee well, Cisco, fare thee well. Here for just a...
Take off.
He was a man and a friend always. He stuck with me in the hard old days. He never cared if I had no dough. We rambled around in the rain and snow. And here's to you, my rambling boy. May all your rambling bring you joy. Here's to you, my rambling boy. May all your rambling bring you joy. In Tulsa town we fields to stray. We thought we'd try to work one day. The boss said he...
Welcome back to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Mitchell. We just heard one of Tom Paxton's beloved songs, Ramblin' Boy. Tom, at which point in your career did you write Ramblin' Boy? Because that's one you're very much known for.
I wrote it one night in '63, sitting in the gaslight. I took a little pocket notebook with me that night, and I wrote 3 lyrics between shows, and the first and third are so terrible I can't remember them, but the middle one is Ramblin' Boy. It was called My Ramblin' Boy. And that little notebook is on display in the Woody Guthrie Center in Tulsa. And I'll be going back to see that later this year. The reason I wrote that song, I usually I can't tell you where songs come from, but this one, there was a song that both Dylan and Dave Van Ronk had been singing and continued to sing, called "He Was a Friend of Mine."
Right.
He was a friend of mine. He was a friend of mine. Never had no money to pay for his fine. He was a friend of mine. And I thought that was such a beautiful song that on this night, about a month or two later, when I was writing songs kind of fast, I thought I'd try to write that song my way, a different way. So I wasn't copying the song, I was responding to the song. And what came out was Ramblin' Boy.
And I'd like to note for the audience that performance we grabbed off YouTube, Tom, was on Pete Seeger's television show. Believe it was called Rainbow Quest. And so you were backed up by none other than the great Pete Seeger on that version of Ramblin'. I know. Tell us how great Pete Seeger was. I had a chance to meet him twice and actually was able to sit down with him when I played at the tribute to Woody Guthrie. We got there early. It was in '96, sponsored by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There was a show with people like Jorma Kaukonen and Country Joe McDonald and Sid Straw and Jimmy LaFave and myself. Sunday was the big show with Ramblin' Jack. Harold was there. Nora Guthrie was there. Joe Ely, Indigo Girls, Ani DeFranco. And so I got to the rehearsal, to the green room. The first guy was in the green room was Pete Seeger, who was doing sit-ups.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, he had to be in his 80s anyway. But
he had a lot of energy.
Tell us how cool Pete Seeger was.
Oh, he was the coolest. The thing about Pete was he was exactly what you got. He loved humanity. He loved people. He was a shy man. He had to overcome his shyness whenever he encountered people. You could tell that his instinct was to stay quiet, but he felt so much the need to bring music to people, to let music bring people together. It was serious with him. And, it was hard to tell Pete a joke. He had a sense of humor, but he didn't have time for jokes.
Right, right.
But he was ready to sit down and show you a lick on the banjo if you asked him. He'd love to talk about songs. He'd love to hear a song that you'd sung. And I mean, the last time I saw him was at a concert celebrating what would have been John Lennon's 80th birthday. I think it was the 80th. And Pete brought some kids down from Beacon with him, and this was in New York City. And I sang him a song I had written called Your Shoes, My Shoes. And he got all excited. He says, you have to tell him, send that to Mark. Send that to Mark, who was publishing, the last publisher of Sing Out.
Mark Moses.
And he loved to hear new songs. And he sang a lot of my songs, bless his heart. He once said that What Did You Learn in School Today was one of his 10 favorite songs. And
wow.
And man, oh man, that's to me, that's more than having a hit song and having a Pete Seeger favorite song.
Absolutely. It doesn't get any better.
No.
You know, I had Dar Williams on my radio show several years ago, and she lived in the Hudson Valley, not too far from Pete Seeger, and she told me a great story that I love repeating. She said she went into the hardware store on a Saturday, and she saw Pete Seeger buying a hammer. If I had a hammer.
Like he didn't have three of them, right?
Let's talk about a few of these other names that I've heard of, but are not as familiar. David Blue, Patrick Sky, and Oscar Brand.
David Blue was around the Gaslight a lot, and he was trying to write songs, and he was making progress with it, and he was kind of shy as well. And then he went out and spent about 6 months in California, and he came back, and he was had a whole line of tap. Huh. It was he came out of his shell. I liked it. The last I saw of him, we were both jogging around Washington Square, and he was so happy. He had just gotten back from Montreal. He'd been in Montreal for a month or so, playing in a play, playing Leonard Cohen.
Wow.
And he had a hell of a time doing it. And about 2 weeks after that, I heard he had been jogging again and dropped dead of a heart attack.
Wow.
And I liked him a lot. And he never got, I think he did an album. I'm not sure, but he never really got a chance to get traction.
Oh, the other guy.
You asked me about who?
Richard Farina.
Oh, I hardly knew Richard. I
just
met him once or twice. I liked his talent, but I didn't really know him.
How about Patrick Sky?
Oh, Patrick Sky. Hung the Moon. I loved Patrick Sky. He was a great guy. He just died a couple of years ago.
Really?
Yeah. He lived down in New Orleans in North Carolina for a long time. Worked in computers and played in his spare time. He actually had a little factory in Ireland at one point making Julian pipes. He was one of the best joke tellers I ever hung with. We had a lot of fun with that. I thought he was a wonderful singer, and he wrote one beautiful song. I've seen this world, it's all the same. Only difference is in the name. The only road I ever know is the suitcase and the open road.
Wow.
And it's many a mile I've been down this road, many a mile I have trod. Yeah, I love that. Very sardonic wit.
Another name.
You know, you get him together with Van Ronk, and you could just sit back and enjoy the evening.
Tell us about what is an evening with Dave Van Ronk sitting around the bar drinking beer. What was that like?
Oh my! Dave Van Ronk knew more, had more knowledge than about anybody I ever met. I don't think he graduated high school, but he was the best read man I've ever known. Anything from Walt Disney Big Little Books to Schopenhauer. I mean, he was an autodidact, they call, self-educated. And boy, he'd read everything and he remembered it all. And in addition to which, he was funny as hell. He had the hell with it all attitude. It was very funny. He was a great artist, wonderful guitar stylist. He did a transcription of Maple Leaf Rag for Three Finger Pickin' that was very hard for anyone else to play, but it was really good. He was my best man when I married Midge in '63, and I'm still not over losing him.
I've been honored to get to know Terry Thal, and I'm going to have her on our show. She's got her great book out called
I was part of the evening when she did a book release party at the bitter end, and Happy Fromm, bless his soul.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I played songs for it.
So we just got a few minutes left. Quick question. When Dylan went electric, how did the folk community at large react to that? Did you sense there was a change in the air? Yeah,
they didn't like it, nor did I initially. I had a strange feeling. I suppose many people felt that you had to choose. And
right.
When you don't, you don't have to choose. You can play it or not play it, or I was never tempted to do it myself. I think I would have been a terrible rock singer. Dylan was a superb one. But the thing was, before he ever got into folk music, he was into rock and roll. So this was no false turning or anything for him. He was fulfilling another part of his artistic creature.
Well, he was rocking the Iron Age in high school.
But there was a lot of opposition.
See, we don't have a lot of time left. I look forward. I'm going to track you down and say hello on Wednesday when my guest Tom Paxton is playing with the Don Juans at the West Theater in Duluth on the 25th, 26th at the Cedar Cultural Center. Tom, you're right around the corner from 90 years old, and they say this is your farewell tour. Is that correct?
I'm not telling anybody about it, but yes, it is. Yeah. I'm doing a lot of writing, and the thing I love about it is I don't have to leave home to do it.
Well,
I'm about tired. I'm tired of traveling, man. I like it while I'm doing it, but it just tears me apart. It just wears me out.
I can't wait to see you. You are an American treasure. You paid your dues, and then some. We're going to end this. We didn't have time to talk about the Don Juans. We're going to end the show with a song by the Don Juans called "What's So Bad About That." But Tom, I want to thank you for years of giving me the chance to listen to the songs you wrote and just your presence on the scene. One more quick question. What song of yours did Bob Dylan do?
I'm sorry?
What song of yours did Bob Dylan cover?
Oh, it was called Annie's Gonna Sing Her Song. It's a funny story. It was, we were sitting in a bar in the Village in 1970, I think it was. And he said to me, you know that song of yours, the Annie's Gonna Sing Her Song? He said, I like that song. I'm going to cut that song. And you know what? About 50 years later, he did. Now, listen, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Can you get a nice bunch of people to come in the Duluth and the Cedar?
I believe the Duluth show is sold out.
I'm sorry?
The Duluth show, I believe, is already sold out.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's about a 220-seat room.
I better be good.
Start practicing.
Yeah. My God.
Tom, this has been so enjoyable, man. You keep rocking, and
all right.
I look forward to meeting you, and thanks so much for your time.
You're welcome. See you then.
Bye-bye.
What's so bad about a beach in Boulder?
Never have to worry about December getting colder.
Sitting by the seashore in January tans. Who needs Puerto Rico? The Keys or Yucatan.
Which, by the way, won't be there anymore.
It's a scuba diver's dream on the 5-star ocean floor. A little thicker sunscreen.
A little wider hat.
What's so bad about that? What's so bad about the coast of Oklahoma?
Walk along the boardwalk and savor the aroma.
From the whales down in Dallas, the lobster from Milwaukee, chewing longhorn sushi, chugging Lone Star sake.
Polar bears and prairie dogs, the picture's truly splendid.
Living in tranquility, the way the Lord intended. So we smoke a little blubber
while we chew the fat.
What's so bad about that? What's so bad about that? What's so bad about that? When you know you're right, why worry about the facts? What's so bad about that?
Thanks for listening to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. The show is produced by Paul Metza, engineered by Patrick William. We'd like to thank our guest, Tom Paxton, for a wonderful conversation. Follow me and get my books and my records at paulmetza.com. And like my dad used to tell me, remember to be kind and make someone happy.